Well, hello. Welcome back to another exciting edition of Coffee with Stephen. So, this week's blog is entitled Lessons from the Reading Market. Now, if you have ever played the game Monopoly, you might recognize the name Reading, as in Reading Railroad. Well, there's a reason for that. When Monopoly was first mass produced by Parker Brothers, Charles Todd, who invented that version of Monopoly, had grown up in Philadelphia and used a lot of the local locations as the names of the different places that you can purchase and things like that in Monopoly. Reading Railroad, the boardwalk, places that go to jail. In any event, this blog has nothing to do with Monopoly. What it does have to deal with is the unique relationship of informal systems of order, racial harmony, and religious tolerance. There's a whole bunch of stuff that goes into this blog, and I do encourage you to read it as opposed to just watching this video. I also get into an interesting discussion of what's called brokenism versus status quoism. It's kind of ironic that I was able to actually pull all these things together, but they do all sort of intersect. When Sandy and I went to Philadelphia a few weeks ago for the Army Navy game, just before we left, I was down in San Diego making an appearance before a judge, and my law partner had casually mentioned that I was going to be heading off to Philadelphia for the Army Navy game. Judge Gallagher got really excited. He had spent a lot of time in Philadelphia and was insistent that I go to the Reading Market. Now, the Reading Market is a massive venue where a bunch of local entrepreneurs have set up these sort of, food stands, for lack of a better term. Um, so when we were there, we had a day to kind of play tourist, and the Reading Market happened to be fairly close to our hotel. So Sandy and I kind of trucked on over there. It is magnificent. There's no question about that. And the food is incredible. But there is a large section where there are a number of food stands that are owned and worked by Amish. And you see them. They're dressed in their Amish garb and everything else. And they're primarily, selling Dutch-inspired foods. There's also a number of blacks that own soul food eateries, and they're all kind of interspersed together. Now, that in and of itself is interesting, but what was really fascinating to me was that the customers were going to each of these different places, right? They weren't focused on one particular form of cuisine. More importantly, a lot of the Amish were helping out the blacks, and a lot of the blacks were helping out the Amish in, customer service and helping move boxes and things like that. There was a congeniality. And I don't believe it was because there was this desire to form sort of a kumbaya moment or anything like that. They were doing it because they knew each other. They were friends. They're decent human beings. They were kind of helping each other out. Um, and this was all being done without the imposition of some large overarching state mandating certain behaviors. It was an organic system of order, and it worked. Now, along with that, I also bring in the concept of what we call brokenism versus status quoism. I happen to be a brokenist, okay? I believe that the institutions of government are fundamentally flawed. Now, I happen to believe that because the vast majority of these institutions exist outside of the constitutional mandate. We've gone beyond what our founding fathers had originally envisioned in drafting the Constitution, and that's one of the reasons why we have so many problems that we do. Brokenists exist on a spectrum, right? Some believe that we need to have a full-scale revolution and, start all over again, having a level of Marxism get employed into our system. I mean, you can be a brokenist and still exist on different political levels. A status quoist, on the other hand, also can have wildly divergent political views, but they fundamentally believe that the institutions of government are perfectly valid, okay? They will acknowledge that they're flawed, and to them, they believe that simply removing the incompetent or corrupt people in these institutions will fix our problems. It's not the institution itself, it's the people that right now happen to be occupying the seats of power. Anyways, I kind of intersperse that with it as well. So I do encourage you to read the blog. I think you might find it somewhat interesting. As always, I want you to train constantly, train consistently, train repetitively, and train with purpose. Above all else, stay safe.